Hey everybody, well, welcome back to GEAR-1, your source for all things EV, motorsports, and racing lifestyle. I am Ed.
And I'm Noel.
We're going to have a little bit of an armchair discussion, comparing the performance of the Model 3 to the Model S and to the BMW 340i.
Now we're going to look at three different types of racing here. We're going to look at quarter-mile drag race, road course track, and autocross.
Okay.
If our comparison is based off of the fastest rear-wheel drive car that Tesla has made so far in the quarter mile, minus, not including the Roadster, it would have to be the Tesla Model S P85, not the D, just the rear-wheel drive version.
Now the reason is because we want to make sure that it's a fair comparison, since the Model 3 does not come in a dual motor version yet.
If you're looking at quarter mile times, there's really no comparison. I mean, 0 to 60 times, it's got to beat.
Yeah.
Quarter mile times, it's
just a beast.
I mean, the Model S is running what, like 12 second? Or is it?
It's 12.6. Yeah. At 108 miles per hour.
Trap speed of 108. Although, you know what, the Model 3, it is a light car. Well, let me put that into perspective. It's a light car by comparison.
Yes,
to
it's
previous
about
Model
maybe
S's.
18% or so lighter than the Model S.
Right. I think you're probably looking at like a 13.0 second pass at like maybe 100 miles, maybe a little bit more. Hour.
Well, looking at the stats, now again, because no one else has released these stats yet, and Model 3 owners, we would love to hear back from you if you do have these available.
Or possibly Motor Trend, since they seem to have exclusive access to like the Model 3.
Yeah.
Tesla was always conservative with their 0 to 60 numbers. I think most publications, in fact, I think all publications were able to pull faster 0 to 60 times, and that's not with a 1 foot rollout or anything like that. All like cars that Tesla has produced, whether it's all iterations of the Model S, all iterations of the Model X.
Now, one thing that I do note is that from the manufacturer, from Tesla, it does have a higher top speed than the P85.
Right. Yeah, it's got a high top speed of 140 miles per hour versus 130 for the P85.
So taking these things into consideration, the fact that it's about 900 pounds lighter than the Model S P85, and assuming that is a very conservative 5.10 to 60. Let's say it's a 4.9.
Right.
Let's say it's a 4.9. I don't know. I don't think that it could break the 13. 12.6 is really good. Anything under 13 that's a fast car.
I mean, quarter mile times, as time goes on, they always progress higher. What used to be fast, a 15-second quarter mile used to be acceptable, but 15-second quarter mile passes are kind of like, well, why are you even testing it?
I don't know if it'll be 13 even. I think it'll be a little bit slower. My guess is probably 13.2 or something like that. I definitely think it will be in the 13s. I doubt this thing would be a 14-second vehicle.
I mean, they don't want to cannibalize the sales of the Model S. So the Model S will always be, per Elon's quote, always be faster, always be quicker. So we'll see what the future holds for the Model S once the P comes out. We'll see what happens when the D comes out, when the PD with Ludicrous comes out. Yeah, I mean, there's great potential there. I think it'll be nipping at the heels of what the Model S could do. The P100D with Ludicrous. But if it can quarter mile times, if it could come close to that, right, then you got to believe that a car that's narrower, shorter, lighter is gonna take its lunch once you go take both vehicles to a track, to a road course.
Yes.
Right?
So that's a good segue into our next discussion, track.
Right.
Having driven, I don't know, have you gotten a chance to drive a Model S yet?
No. I intentionally have never driven a Model S, even though it's been offered to me from people. I've never driven one because I've known that if I did, I would make a pretty significant financial mistake.
No, I did. I was lucky enough to drive it. And this was when Insane Mode was the highest performance. This was before Ludicrous, and it was really really cool, really really awesome, really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, though. I really got a sense of how heavy it was, and it actually was the only mark against it that I would say, in that I do not believe that it would do very well on a track. Now, a lot of people have taken it around the track,
Right.
and but I think the things that their feedback is less about what mine was. Mine will probably be more appropriate when we get into the autocross discussion. But what can you tell us about some of the feedback that people have had on Model S's?
So
on
Tesla,
track?
so track for when you have a Model S on a track, it's not what you would have expected from a car that is can run in the 10 seconds on the quarter mile. What tends to happen is you go out for your outlet. You want to be really conservative with how you're putting down the power on your outlet. And then once you do your first 2 laps, I mean, depending on the size of the course, depending on the topography of it, you'll start to notice after 2 laps, it'll start to dial down the power on. By the time you're on your 3rd or your 4th lap, it's not like you're losing charge per se. I mean, yes, the more charge you lose, it'll be less potent. But what it's doing is it's going into a mode where it's trying to preserve the battery life, because the heat buildup in the batteries from the massive current draw is not good for them. The fastest Nürburgring time that anyone's ever attempted was with I think
In an EV or just in general?
No, with the Model S.
Okay.
Was like, I think it was a P90
Okay.
might have been. I don't think it had Ludicrous. But what was it was something like like 9 minutes beyond that. It was something that was really unexpected. You'd expect something like something that can run in the 10s as far as a quarter mile. You'd expect it to like pull at least an 8-minute Nürburgring lap time. It can't, because you drive a couple minutes under the algorithm kicks in to preserve the batteries, and it dials back the power. So
now that was with the 90 with the 18650 cells.
Right.
So, and do you know if the 100 is using the 2170?
All S's and X's coming out of Tesla will still continue to use the 18650 for now. There hasn't been any announcement that they'd be using the new 2170 cells, which are being used in the Model 3.
So maybe they're with a redesign of the Model S or even the X, who knows, they may change the battery and they may actually improve its performance. Right.
I believe that you're absolutely right, that they will eventually go to the 2170 battery. Just because they're building, there are already plans for and they haven't shared, Tesla hasn't made it public yet. There are already plans for other gigafactories, not just one more.
Getting back to the comparison, I think we can agree that there really is none between the P85 and the Model 3 long range. Just because Elon Musk said it himself that
I would not say that. As far as quarter mile, yeah, you're right. The quarter mile, it cannot compare to the P85. As far as the track,
I actually think that it would probably do much better. The Model 3 would do much better than the Model S on the track.
I think it will too, but I think it's still going to be subject to the same type of problem.
But this is supposed to have better energy density than the 18650s.
So I believe it will have. It does have better energy density, and I believe that because you're using a much larger, 50% by volume, larger battery, a larger cell, the heat that'll be generated by each individual cell for the amount of current that you're pulling through it will be less. Might even be considerably less.
It's also a lighter vehicle, so there's less of a
lighter
strain
vehicle,
on the
less
vehicle
power, right? So less demand for current, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that, if it's going to be a 1-lap race around, pretty much any given track other than things like Spa or anything like that, right? like just the typical 2 mile road course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Model S will beat the Model 3. But if you're looking at like 5 lap race, I think things might be different. I mean, I think the Model 3 will be able to soldier on and go beyond the 3 laps that, would actually, cause the Model S to go into, I'm not sure if it's called, but it's limp mode where it's not allowing you the full power.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that there was I forget the name of the guy who does racing in his like dad's Model S.
I don't know the dude's name, but that guy's got some cojones.
So,
Yeah.
but he discovered that
Tesla Racing Channel, by the way, check it out if you get a chance.
but he discovered that larger diameter wheels actually improve the performance of the vehicle, at least in a quarter mile. So we've discussed quarter mile, we've discussed track. Now on to autocross discussion.
Autocross, okay. So I have seen videos and I've read posts of guys that have taken the Model S autocross. I have looked up the SCCA PAX, Professional Autocross Index, for the Model S. The 2017 SCCA rulebook has the Model S, all versions from 2012 to 2014. They don't go beyond that, in F-stock. Now, if you think of the categories, Super stock, A stock, B stock, C stock, all the way down to, I believe it's G or H stock. You might think that it's kind of slow being F stock. Nothing would be further from the truth. It's actually a pretty fast class. It's classified with like M3s, a couple other fast cars. So it's in a pretty fair category.
I think it'll definitely do better than the Model S, without question in my mind. It'll definitely do better. I don't know if it'll do better than the F stock. My guess is I don't think it can do any worse than F stock.
That is a considerably smaller.
Considerably wider. Race by ratio.
Wider?
By ratio, because it's a shorter vehicle and it's
right. Its ratios. It's a narrower wheelbase and a slightly narrower track, but it's coming close to a square. So narrower, shorter wheelbase. Lighter, much lighter, 950 pounds.
Better energy density in its batteries.
Better energy density in its batteries, but that's not really that much an issue because you only do one run and then you come in, you pit.
That's a good
car
point.
Cools down.
Okay.
You come in back to the grid, and then you essentially let the car cool down, and so it should not really experience any problems that you'd encounter when racing it on a track.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as how the Model 3 would be as an autocrosser, I think it actually stands a very good chance as being definitely outclassing the P85. Oh, there is also another problem with the Model S. You cannot disable the stability control. You can't disable the stability control, and you can only disable the traction control for like sort of a start, right? Once you disable the traction control, once you exceed, I think it's like 40 miles, you put it in the slip mode. Once you disable that, once it goes over 40 miles an hour, it goes back to its regular mode where all the safeguards are turned back on. So I think one automotive publication went in there and like just pulled a bunch of fuses, turned the dashboard into a Christmas tree on a Model S, and they were able to like get it to like, it's got an open diff, so they were able to do like one wheel burnouts and stuff like that. But it's possible, but once you're modifying it like that, then it's no longer stock.
Yeah. We're really going to have to see just how well they designed it to get thrown around. I can tell you right now, the Model S does not like being thrown around. It really fights you. Like I would not actually feel very comfortable taking it onto an autocross because I know they would perform poorly.
I think that what tends to make the Model S, what will probably hinder the Model 3 the most is the stability control. The stability and the traction control. If you can find a way to disable that without taking it out of stock contention, then yeah, I think it'll be real quick.
Yeah, but that therein lies the issue.
Yeah.
Once you get out of the stock configuration, then it's just an arms race, and
Right.
you almost kind of can't really compare it to anything else fairly.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
isn't possible. So that's our comparison of the Model 3 with the Model S. Now let's see if we can really briefly, because we've discussed a lot about the Model 3. Let's do a brief comparison with the 340i.
So the 340i, BMW's highest 3 Series spec before going into the M badge,
or before going all wheel,
or before going XI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's really no comparison. I mean, the 340i will beat the Model 3 up and take its lunch.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an interesting thought exercise to say, okay, well, how badly would the Model 3 be beaten up?
So we're looking here in some of the stats that you were able to pull. Quarter mile in 13.2 for the 340.
Right.
So that sort of reinforces my earlier speculation that the Model 3 is probably going to have it's going to be above 13 in terms of the quarter mile.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But who knows? It also and the 340 actually has a quicker 0 to 60 time than the at least the released 0 to 60 for the Model 3. It has a higher top speed, 155. It's a B stock vehicle, so yeah. I really think that after having the discussion that we've had between the Model 3 and the Model S, the 340 it's gonna outperform.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever any question that it wouldn't.
Yeah, at least the Model 3 LR. Now we have to see what happens with the Model 3 P version.
Right, but once you have the P version, then you have to start comparing it to an M. So
we'll see. Hopefully by then there's some stats for the Model 3. In short, if you're getting the Model 3 to get a performance vehicle, you have to take into consideration a lot of things. What's your price point? What are the things that are important to you? Do you care that it's EV versus internal combustion? There's definitely a lot of things to consider. Me personally, and I think you might agree with me, I am more interested in getting an electric vehicle than I am getting an internal combustion vehicle for maintenance reasons. And that's sort of outside of what we intend to discuss. But it turns the vehicle into a utility. It's I know how to change oil. I know how to change a head gasket. I know how to do all these things. I don't want to do it. I've had to do it in the past because I'm cheap and I don't want to go to a mechanic. But with an electric vehicle, you don't have to worry about any of those things. So for me, that's actually a huge selling point. In addition to that, there's the cost factor. I mean, it's because we're fortunate enough that we got the reservation, we're going to be getting thousands of dollars back. And I think that you say this earlier in a discussion we had before, that Tesla has set BMW and Mercedes as their benchmark companies in which to try and match or outperform their specs. So my take on it is, I think the Model 3 is a great value, and the fact that a BMW 340 outperforms it, hey, I'm totally okay with that because it's also 10 grand more expensive.
It's an unknown, but as far as racing goes, at least for the at the grassroots level, at the enthusiast level, going electric might not be a bad option. I mean, you don't have the sound, you don't have the visceral feel of an internal combustion, the sort of exponential acceleration that a turbo engine will give you.
Mm-hmm.
But you get that roller coaster effect. You're always in the optimal power band, unless you're all the way at the top end of your speed. Mm-hmm. I think the Model 3 holds the potential to challenge a lot of beliefs of an affordable is a relative term, race car. I mean, at least for autocross, as long as the stability control is something that can be sort of mitigated, I think there's potential there. I mean, we won't know until someone tries.
Yeah. I know that we're really excited to to get our hands on one and just go nuts.
See what
around.
it can do.
You know, once that thing, oh man, there's going to just be so much content coming out from us once we have one in hand. And you know, we're not going to be a Model 3 channel. We're really going to be more about like electric, racing. But Model 3 is definitely going to be big news, and we're going to do everything that we can to report it in from an angle that I think is lacking in the community.
Yep.
So with that, I think we pretty much beat this dead horse to death. And we're going to sign off saying I'm Ed.
I'm Noel.
Stay safe.
And I'm Noel. Telling you to stay fast.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.